Hi, everyone. My name is Tanisha Rodriguez. I am the founder and CEO of Sister Circle Media. And thank you for joining us. This is Sister Circle for the Sister Circle. Thank you for joining us. Yes. Oh my God. This is Sister Circle for the Soul after show. And thank you so much for joining us today. And with me, I have my co-host.
Jennifer Anderson here. Hey guys, thank you so much for joining. So for those who've seen other Sister Circle for the Soul, say that fast 10 times, right. After show, I'm normally accompanied by Erin Relford. She couldn't make it today, so we have the amazing Tanisha here. So Tanisha, thank you so much for stepping in and doing the recap. Again, for those who might be new, Sister Circle Media is an amazing organization that supports women in the media space, women of color. And one of the things that we do is we have this space called Sister Circle for the Soul. That discussion we do monthly, and it is not recorded. It is not recorded because we want it to be a safe space where people can just be free and tell their truth. However, we want to make sure that we can share those gems that come out of that time together in the after show recap. So that's what we're going to do today. And we're going to get right into it. So Tanisha, happy Friday, girl. So good to see you.
Happy Friday. So good to see you as well. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm normally behind the scenes and I'm happy with that. So thank you for having me as I sit and try to fill Erin's shoes. I want to jump right into it. I think today's episode was amazing and as always relevant in the space that we needed it when we needed it. Yeah. And so I really appreciated the conversations that we had. I think our first question was just dealing with how everyone was doing, where were they at? It was kind of our baseline to launch the conversation. What did you think? What did you get from that?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, normally we always have a themed discussion like walking your authority or, you know, something along those lines or, you know, in defense of the Black man or something like that. And I really felt it on my heart, Tanisha, that with everything going on, right? We've got an election right around the corner. We're still hearing reports about unarmed Black men being killed in the streets. We've got, depending on where you are in the world or in the country, at least in America, we've got layers of prolonged quarantines, right? Everything isn't opened up exactly how it used to be. People are having opportunities. People are having a lot of loss. They've experienced a lot of loss. And people are definitely, no matter where you are on that spectrum, having to let go. They're having to let go of their previous sense of normalcy. They're having to let go of, you know, hugging everyone as they used to see them. They're having to let go of a lot. And today's conversation was just entitled The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Hey sis, how are you doing really? Right? Because I think we're so used to kind of putting on this space to get things done, but that's not what Sister Circle for the Soul is meant to do. It's meant to be that safe place. So to your point, the first question out of the gate was, do you feel like you're surviving? Do you feel like you're thriving? Do you feel like you're in between, or do you just don't have a clue, right? And surprised, not surprised, you know, it was encouraging to hear that today, right in the moment, the majority of the room was in thriving. Right. That says a lot, right? But as you can imagine, there are some people in the, I don't know. Yeah. There are some people in the surviving, right? And I think that's real, and I think that's honest, and I was grateful to get that feedback. And I think it's reflective of just all the various pulling and tugging that is happening on our emotions and our energies.
Absolutely. And I think to your point, it's the mixed bag is because of, yes, some people are really struggling right now. But also there are some people who that I shared where I'm in a space where I can see myself thriving, but there's this filter of what's happening in the world and how do you navigate those waters, right?
Yep.
I want to be happy and I want to celebrate my wins, but when I look outside, that's not where we are, right? That's not the space that we're in right now. So
Yes.
I have to hold on to my joy and keep it to myself, right? And I can't share that with my small knit community of friends because I don't want anyone to feel like, whatever. I don't want anyone to feel like it's this is not the moment for that, or I don't want to feel like I'm telling myself and judging myself like, no, this is not the space that we're in. So we need to make sure that we are on cue with everyone else where everyone else is, if that makes sense.
It makes complete sense. And I think there's wisdom to that, right? Like if somebody's bawling, it might not be the opportunity to say, hey, I just made this investment, or hey, me and my family are about to buy the house.
Right.
But we do ourselves a disservice if we don't celebrate the wins, if we don't walk in joy when we're blessed enough to receive it. Because it's grace that we're not all going through the same kind of drama and crazy and intensity at the same time.
Oh my goodness, so true.
And if we're fortunate enough to be having great moments, if we're fortunate enough to see that prosperity, that's okay. And maybe that means that this is our time to let people lean on us. Right? Because there's going to be a time when we're going to need to lean on other people. And because life is not a sprint, but a marathon, being able to celebrate those wins with people who you trust, with people who can still celebrate with you, is super, super key, because it's part of the refueling process, right? It's part of the reframing of, oh, there's a reason to have hope, because there were times when it wasn't easy. There were times when people were okay and you were struggling, right? So I think it's important that Sister Circle for the Soul and this time and how we're just looking at the world, celebrate those wins with people who can celebrate those wins with you, and be a great example and a strength to those people who can need it as well.
Absolutely. And to that point, right, someone had mentioned that, she feels that she's thriving, but she still feels heavy, right? And I wish I wanted to go deeper into that with you, and I wanted to get your thoughts on that, and in the sense of, because she was asking the question of why, how do I celebrate my joy in this space?
Exactly. Right. So I want to make sure I understand the question. It's like, I'm feeling the mixed bag, and how do I still feel good when there's all these other things kind of bringing me down, right?
Absolutely. When I had these wins, but I still can't celebrate them because, how do I do that?
Absolutely. I think that it starts with reframing, and it really comes down to how are we looking at things. I've been using this metaphor a lot. If you've ever gone to the eye doctor just to get your eyes checked, or if you have to like upgrade your prescription for contacts or glasses or whatever, at some point you have to sit in a dark room, you get that kind of black thing in front of your face, right? And the optometrist starts saying, what's clear? Lens 1, lens 2, lens 2, lens 3. And they're doing them individually, not even like all at this, like the same lens on both eyes, but they're looking individually, because they understand that the prescription for your right eye may not be the same prescription for your left. But the objective is for you to see clearly. And that's exactly what needs to happen in order to celebrate your wins, is that you've got to make sure that your eyes, right, the physical ones and the metaphorical ones, are able to see the good too. And when you're not able to reframe and kind of say, okay, yes, there's a lot going on in the world, but where can I find the beauty? Where can I find the joy? And it's not where you're an ostrich putting your head in the sand. We're not advocating for that, right? But again, this is a marathon. This is not a sprint. And so it's super important that in the midst of everything, that we're still able to find beauty, because that's what our soul needs. That's what we long for. We are not naturally created to just thrive on violence and craziness and tomfoolery, in the media. We're meant to enjoy beauty. And a perfect example, last night, I happened to see this TED Talk, where they were talking about marketing and death and how it's all kind of contrived together. And it was such a message that I wanted to share it as much as it broke my heart. And in the same evening, I came across these beautiful little girls who were imitating one of Beyonce's movies, videos. You know, girl, it was a movie. Let's just call it. It was right. Brown Skin Girl. I think that's the name of the title.
Yes.
And the little babies were kind of imitating what was going on, and they were hugging one another, and it was beautiful. Yeah. And I'm like, listen, I can add my voice to a very critical movement. And at the same time, I can still celebrate beauty when I see it.
Right.
And I think we've got to do both in order to keep our hope alive.
Absolutely. I don't think it's not an exclusive thing, right? We can't exclusively just be in the mode to fight and just like we can do both. We can do both. We can be that the activist, the person that speaks out, the person that does whatever they need to do, and we can also be that person that celebrates life, that celebrates win, we can do all of those things simultaneously, right? They don't have to be exclusive to one mood or another.
Exactly. And in fact, I think in order to do both well, you need to do both well.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, you can't always be angry. How can you, and we talked about this, how can you walk into a place that needs healing when you're broken?
Yes.
Right? How can you put out a fire when you're burning right now? And not in a good way, right?
Right.
And so it's super important that the reason why there's such, this desire for equality and change is because there is a vision for better. And we know that we can get there. We've got to be able to keep our eye on that beauty. And until we see it manifest in all the places where it needs to, it's important for us to still seek it out in other places where it's established, and that just helps us to be healthy as we do this marathon called life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think for me, what I got from the room was that everyone is at different levels of trying to figure out what's the next step, right? And I think we're all confused on, well, where should we be? Like, what is, I think we're all looking at the community going, what are we supposed to be feeling, right? And I think that's the struggle, because we're asking outside and when we should be looking inside of ourselves. We have to navigate that. And I think what I got from the room was that everyone was kind of looking outside going, tell me what I'm supposed to feel.
Right. Because, and that was existing because there was an underlying guilt.
Myself included. Yep. Absolutely.
Me included, but it gets to the point of, hey, in order for me to run this race, I need to make sure I rest. Let's look at all of our athletes, right? On the tennis court, on the basketball court, on the Olympic field, on whatever. If an athlete gets injured, right, they're taken off the field and they rest, they recuperate, they go through rehabilitation, whatever that needs to be. It doesn't mean that they left the team.
Right.
It doesn't mean that they're no longer a world-class athlete. It just means that, hey, they need to heal. And that's what we've got to do as well. And to your point, we're not going to find that healing trying to understand something from a collective when we need to know something about ourselves that's so personal. And that's why it's super important to engage in activities that helps us to get back to our true selves, right?
Yeah.
So that we understand what we want and what we need and what gives us joy, and being able to seek that out while we add our voices to the things that matter to us most.
Absolutely. I think you said something in regards to celebrating your joy separately from the community. We talked about that a little bit, which I thought I wrote that down because that spoke to me. Like, I'm entitled to have joy, right? I'm entitled to have joy. I'm entitled to be excited about things that are going on in my personal life. Yes, collectively, it's not good for Black people, right? Black men specifically, but me individually, I'm having a good space and time right now, and that's okay.
It is.
It's okay to celebrate that joy.
Yes.
And so I really want to nail in on that and let people understand that it's okay.
Not only is it okay, it's necessary,
Yeah.
because from joy, there's strength.
Yeah.
And we need your strength, because there's a lot of people who are weak right now. Right?
Yes, that's so good. Yeah, like bring all the people who are joyful. Let's lean on them because they have it right now.
Yeah.
Right?
And there's going to be a time where, you know, the clouds may be over other people's lives and not over everybody else. And that's our time where we can step up and be strong for other people. You know, it's okay to celebrate the wins. In fact, it's a necessity for your mental health, because when things are good or when things are better, that's when you're able to recharge, you're able to reframe, you're able to relieve some pressure. People who go to the gym, they have rest days. Yeah. People who may have a certain kind of eating pattern may give themselves cheat days, right? Because it's important to take care of yourself and rest. And a part of getting strong when you're weight training is to rest, so that those muscle fibers that have been pulled apart in order to come back together strong, they can't do that if you're constantly working. Right? Right. Resting is part of the process. It's part of the maintenance. It's part of life. And it doesn't make you a bad person if you are taking time to detach a little bit when you need to, or if you're taking time to celebrate, or if you're taking time to just have hope. The fact that you still have your hope is an encouragement. And all of those things can be celebrated. It doesn't mean that you're a bad person. And it doesn't mean that your head is in the sand, right? So I think that was a thing that was extremely prominent, where, to your point, there are different people kind of on that scale of surviving to thriving. It's natural for us to all oscillate, right? On that scale. But when we're just surviving, know that this too shall pass. And when you're thriving, embrace it. In fact, there's lessons in it all. And I think we can all be better in it and because of it. And know when to lean on people. Know when to ask for help. Don't isolate yourself. You're not weak just because you're having a hard day or a hard week or a hard month or a hard year. It's all right. And I think this is when, again, pulling on your community is so, so important.
Absolutely. And to move into a separate space with that, because we had someone who was talking about she's in the house by herself and feeling like depression is coming on. How do you speak to someone in that space, or what gems can you share with someone who might be in that space and trying to figure out, what do I do here?
Yeah. It's natural that when you're in your own head, it's like a room that's not getting aired out, right? The room could be clean, but if that door is closed for too long, the air gets stale. It just gets stale, right? And so anyone who is, maybe they don't have a whole bunch of people in their home, or they're by themselves or whatnot, this is introvert or not. It is super important to recognize, okay, hey, with all safety precautions that I can take, right? For my health and for the health of others, I've got to figure out what my new normal is. And my new normal may mean I need to take a walk once a day. My new normal may be, and I've done this, I had to do a drive-by by family and literally drove 20 miles, parked in the driveway, and folks were on the lawn and I'm waving, right? Just to have that human energy, okay? It might mean a quick trip to your local Target or whatever that needs to be. But I think it's super important that we are communicating with people, that we are getting those things that we need, like sunlight. And Tanisha, you brought up a beautiful point as well, is helping people makes us feel good about ourselves. Because I think it all goes back to reframing, right? Absolutely. Being able to give to something and to someone that helps them grow, does something for ourselves, right? And even though we have to do this physical distancing in most of the world, it doesn't mean that we have to do the social distancing, right? And we can figure out how to do that. But when we're able to connect with human beings, whether it's in person or over a screen, that is what makes the difference. Another thing that came up out of that, what can we do if we're by ourselves, and how do we start coping, and how do we keep those thoughts that can creep up on us that are not for our good? Another person brought up doing what you want to do.
Right.
And what I think is so beautiful about that is that in order to do what you want to do, you have to know what you want. And to have to know, and in order to know what you want, you have to be in tune with yourself. And I think that is super key in this season. It's not a nice to have anymore to be in tune with yourself, to know, you know what? I know I've got a full day today, but I think I need a half hour nap, or I need a half hour to just, or these videos are really working my nerve. Let me take a break. Or you know what? I feel like painting my nails a nice bright color that I don't normally do, or write in journals. That was a lot of, we heard that numerous times.
Yes, gratitude journals.
Gratitude journals. So I think self-care is no longer the side dish to life.
Absolutely.
It has to be an ingredient within our main course. It has to be part of what we are eating every day. And I think that when we prioritize our needs, when we are in tune with ourselves, when we are giving to others, when we are managing not just our time, but our energy, and making sure that we're on that list of people who we need to give back to, we're already kind of elevating our consciousness and our well-being, so that we can head toward thriving in these different times.
Absolutely. Isn't that a beautiful thought, to think that coming out of the scariest, craziest time right now, we will gain self-care. It's no longer an option. It's going to be built into our everyday, right? Because before this, self-care was really I'll get to it if I can make it, if I can work it out, right? Work or whatever we had, that was our priority. Our goal was to get it done, what we need to get done.
Absolutely.
Right? So wouldn't it, in the sense of reframing all of this, right? We come out of this saying, I need to be at 100%, not 110%. And I do that by making sure I'm taking care of myself, by making sure that I'm making time for the things that I love. So then I can pour myself into my job, my kids, my work, like whatever it is that you're trying to give your energy to, you're able to set yourself up for success in that way, mental success, right?
Exactly. And I think, one of the things that we're stressing some people out in the room, because we have these poll questions that we'll throw out. One of the things was the uncertainty of, when is this going to be over? And I don't know about you, but when I'm watching the clock, it moves so slow. But when I'm starting to I'll call it actively wait, right?
Yes.
When I'm actively waiting for something, what does that mean? I'm aware that I'm waiting for something, but I am being my version of productive in that time, whether that productive is take a class, whether that productive is me being still, whether that productive is me reading a book, whatever that is, to be able to use that time as we're waiting, and I'm not focused on the clock, really helps us to not go insane. And I think that's why it's super important that in this time, we don't fight against it, but we learn how to move in it.
Absolutely.
Right? We learn how to work with it. And I think for me, it was Mayish, June-ish, because I was very strictly quarantining for a number of reasons, and I mean, who has time for COVID? I don't care if it is a cold, which I think it's more than a cold. That's just my personal beliefs.
Absolutely.
But I don't like it when I get colds.
Right.
And I don't like how it hits my pocketbook when I get colds. That's a good $100 at CVS. So, but with that being said, I realized, okay, yes, I've got the air filters in the house. I've got the plants. I've got all this kind of stuff. I have my mask. I was wearing eye things. I can't stay in the house another 3 months solo. So what does that mean? I would open up my blinds and then at one point push them all the way back to get all that sun. I was like, I need to take a walk around the block. I need to just get out a little bit more. And I wasn't even grocery shopping. I mean, I was ordering everything, but I was like, you know what? No, I need to go out. So if that means that I need to do a saline spray in my nose so I can clear my sinuses and gargle with something, then that's what I need to do. But not only am I trying to not catch COVID, I'm also needing to keep my sanity. And to your point, you know, discussions of mental health were almost taboo, even in 2019, you know, beginning of 2020. Now, I think we can all kind of take a look at ourselves, and if we're struggling, it's because of our mental state. And just like how we might take care of a car or a house or a pet, how we're feeling and how we're seeing is super, super critical. And that's why framing and reframing again doesn't mean that something's wrong with you. It means that we're being pulled in a number of different directions. And just like a car alignment, you want to make sure that everything is lined up the way it needs to be. And that means being intentional. And that was another breakthrough word, right, that came up in the meeting.
Yes, absolutely, about being intentional. I think for myself, what I've been intentional about with my self-care is my hair and nails, right? Those are two things. If I got my hair done and my nails are done, you can't tell me anything. That's it, okay? That is it. So I'm very intentional that you won't stop.
Just the hair, just whatever.
I'm very intentional about that for me, because that's what I need to fill up my cup, so then I can pour into the people around me that I love and I care for. Exactly. Right? So yes, I would love to go to a spa, but we don't have that available to us right now, right? But I have available, I'm blessed that my aunt does my hair, you know, and my nail technician can come to my house. So
yeah, we're not gonna, like I said, me and Orly had a rendezvous this past week. So, you know, shipment is coming.
Right.
And I did the same thing. You know, I started doing things that I don't normally do. I don't normally do my nails. You know, I tend to keep my nails short, but I was like, you know what? I want to play in some color.
Yeah.
I want to do something different. I'm going to wear my hair up. I'm going to wear, you know, shiny earrings that are just a little bigger than what I normally do. Whatever that is that brings you joy. This morning, I just walked around and looked at pretty things and came home. Am I doing it every day? I'm not. But again, it's to the point of, okay, let's be intentional. What makes me happy? You know, I've ordered some books. I'm going to make sure that this weekend I get some reading time in.
Absolutely.
I think that's what we've got to do. And I think that is, in all the loss and craziness that has happened in this season, one of the treasures that, if you've been fortunate enough to get, is that time to be quiet. And it's not the time to just fill yourself up with a whole bunch of meaningless. It's really time to sit down. Reframe has been our word, right?
Yes.
Reframe your personal life. How do you want to move in the earth after this? How do you want to move in the earth while we're in this, right? And get closer to those things that give us joy, whether it be, you know, a hobby or a changing career.
Absolutely.
And I think that if we feel like we're victims, if we think like we're victims, we're going to feel like we're victims.
Absolutely agree.
And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of things that have happened to us, right? But we still have the power to make some decisions to live our best life, because again, this too shall pass.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I think, to your point, right, it's how are you going to rediscover yourself, right? That's another question that you can be asking yourself. How do I want to rediscover who I am? Because I think before this, we were all lost in autopilot. I know I was in autopilot for a long time.
Yeah.
Right? Because I was just so busy. There was nowhere else that I could just do, because that's all I could do. Right? So the fact of it is, now I get to rediscover me, you know, and see what I like and what makes me happy and what brings joy, authentic joy to me. And not just materialistic thing, but really sitting down with that and what makes me happy,
Yeah.
you know, and really asking those questions about what makes me happy and going on a journey for that. That's
Yeah.
what I'm going on a journey for, to rediscover who I am and what that means.
Absolutely. Yeah. We're saying absolutely a lot. I realize that's like a go-to word. Okay. I admit it. I like it. But absolutely. No,
Yes.
I'm doing the same thing. You know, okay, this curl is going to just be the death of me. And yeah, I don't even care.
You're going to pull it down like you did before.
I'm
You're
just
like,
going to take it down and the hair's just going to be down, right? I was trying to do something different because that was giving me joy.
yes, yes, absolutely.
But to your point, you know, yeah, I've been resting.
Mm-hmm.
I had planned to be on my grind and get all this kind of stuff done. And I was like, no, I need to take some time to be still. And I have learned things about me that I think I've learned things about me and have gotten stronger in areas and have been decisive more about my needs and my personal wants.
Mm-hmm.
It is preparing me for what I'm hoping to walk into, you know, those things that I'm planning for.
Yeah.
And
Could I interrupt one quick second? I have a question that just popped to my mind. Do you now know what your super non-negotiables are? Like you're like, this, I made it happen before in 2019 or it slid by me in 2018, but after 2020, never again. After right now in 2020, never again.
I'm just doing my deep breathing so I don't pop out of this chair right here.
Have you discovered that for yourself?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Because that's what I went through.
Yeah, I think, you know, I've had someone tell me before, I'm very goal oriented. I know how to make an objective and to get that thing done. Mm-hmm. And would give so much of myself to it and to people because I wanted people to thrive and do well. And I still want it. I still want it. It's one of my whys as why I'm walking on planet Earth. What I've learned though is that I'm no longer willing to box myself in to make everyone feel comfortable because I'm not giving you my best self if I'm truncating myself. That's one. Yes. Two, I'm no longer willing to be the victim of opportunity. So there's a lot of things I may be good at, a lot of things that I can do, but do I want to do it? Do I want to do it? Mm-hmm. And I think the third thing is that I'm very good at having, you know, business strategy is one of the things I do. So to be able to see the landscape and be able to see around corners, I enjoy doing that, but I didn't have myself on my own radar the way that I needed to have myself on my own radar, you know, and it was okay because I was functional. I was thriving and getting all what I liked and needed from this other stuff. And I'm like, you know what? I don't want that anymore. I'm not looking to just grow vertically, but I want to expand horizontally. I want a different kind of existence where I've got the right parts there and the right people close and the right, etc. You know, and what about having people around me that if I don't show up, if I'm not providing a service or a product or whatever, you still care about me.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And I think the time has really allowed me to just kind of like reframe my priorities and to put myself on top, not from a selfish place, but from a place of if my cup is full, when it runs over, everybody else will get what they need. And I'll be giving a better version of myself. As much as I liked myself before, I'm liking the version that I'm seeing now. And I think that's exciting. But I couldn't have done that. And mind you, I've done that in the midst of life-altering changes. Like, it didn't mean that everything was hunky-dory. And I'm over here like, oh, I'm going to just go sit down and do nothing for like, no, it was an intentional, ooh, I need to be doing this over here. No, in order for me to do that right, I need to change what's going on up here.
Absolutely.
You know, and so that was what I would encourage everyone to do, regardless of if this is your time to rest or if this is your time to grind. Reevaluate. Yes, what I used to do before got me to where I am right now, but what I'm doing right now, will it get me to where I need to go?
Absolutely.
And those places that I thought I needed to go to, do I? Just a healthy reevaluation, you know? And I think
Absolutely.
that is how we start moving from surviving to thriving. We move from what I have to do to more into what I want to do, based on knowing who I am and knowing
Absolutely.
the direction that I want to go into and how I want to move through the earth as I do it.
Absolutely. There's your answer for that person who asked that question.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
How do I
Long
move her?
answer.
Yeah.
Long answer.
Yeah.
We journeyed together. You know, we did a little dance,
Yes.
tucked in some curls. It was great. But it's real. You know,
Yeah.
it's a journey. It's not a multiple choice test. It's like,
Yeah.
figure out who the heck I am right now, and do I like me?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And do I like what I'm doing? Right? Because right now we get to choose. Choose. And choose you. Choose
Yeah.
you. Figure out what that is for you. No one else gets to choose for you.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's about, I want to make sure that I'm taking up the space that God has given to me.
Mm.
Because I know that I shrink myself sometimes to make others feel more comfortable. And that's an internal thing that I have to work on. I need to, this is me, right? Because if I show up as my authentic self, me, not only am I benefiting from it, others are going to benefit from it.
Absolutely. And you can be authentic without being crass and rude.
Exactly.
Like, we didn't say show up and then cuss everybody out.
Exactly. Just
like,
take it over and just, it's all about you.
No, it's just like, hey, here are my,
Show
we
up for
started
me.
talking about this in Walking in Your Authority, right? Like
Mhm.
a month or two ago. You show up, you're bringing your ideas, you're being upfront about what you can and cannot do,
Right.
and setting healthy boundaries so that when you show up, you're able to show up in the best form of yourself as much as possible. And sometimes that means, oh wait, I need to downshift a bit. I need to slow down. Something kind of got me off. I'm hearing more thoughts that are trying to get me anxious and depressed,
Mhm.
and think I don't want to be here anymore. No, that's not the real you. We're created to want to live. We're created to want to share. We're created to want to create. Okay. And it's natural for those voices to come in when you don't have anything to counter that. And that's why it's so important to be in a healthy space. Because when you're in that healthy space, you're surrounded by healthy things.
Yep.
When you see yourself going over to the dark side, right?
Mhm.
Stuff from the dark side starts trying to get into your head. And I think that's why, again, just bringing it back to the good, the bad, the ugly, how are you really doing? We have to ask ourselves, how are we really doing? And let's not be afraid of the good. Let's celebrate that.
Mhm.
Let's not be afraid to get ugly,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And let's not be upset at the bad. It does happen. And in fact, let's not even call it bad, because I think we can pull out treasure from anything. And it
Yes.
can take practice, but when you're able to do that, and when you're able to still see beauty, that is the hope that we all need to keep going and to enjoy the walk as we go about our way.
Absolutely. I think that's a perfect place to end that. I really do. I think that's the bow and the gift,
It is,
right?
and it is a gift.
So I would like to say lastly, just thank you for always creating this space of inclusivity, a safe space, a space of where women can come and pour their hearts out and leave feeling refreshed or refilled.
Awesome.
Right? And I think that to one of our guests that came in, she was like, I'm thankful for this meeting, you know? And I think that that's the space that you help create. And so thank you for that. Thank you for sharing your talents with us. Thank you for partnering with us and really creating this space of sharing and soul sharing, right? Because I think it's important more than ever. More than ever, it's so important right now.
Absolutely, absolutely. No, thank you so much. It's an honor. It's an honor to do so. I thank you and all the board for, you know, all the work that's put in for Sister Circle Media. And I'm just super glad that we're all able to partake. And I invite everyone, you know, to go to sistercirclemedia.org and find a place to plug in. You know, we do Sister Circle for the Soul every month. The next one will be October 9th, but we have another event coming up September 25th. Tanisha, did you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it's September 25th. We're going to be talking to two amazing people, women, Black women. One is an activist, another is an author, I believe, and we're going to be talking about Black women and our power in voting and what we bring to the table.
Awesome.
So look out for that and the information that's going to be coming soon on that. And we hope that you can make it, because I think it's going to be another one of those spaces where if you didn't know, you're going to get something from there that you can use for your everyday lives.
Absolutely.
So I hope you're able to join us.
Absolutely. That's amazing. I will definitely be there. Sister Circle never fails to deliver the fire and the gems.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to September 25th and the next Sister Circle for the Soul on October 9th. Thanks so much, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We hope that you found this time beneficial, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.